With the release of The Cult of the Lamb on the 11th of August, and me being like, man, this game looks really good. I could use some roguelike game, haven't played anything really, so why not give it a go? And before purchasing, I went into the review section as I always do, and have found this review that has really stuck with me. It made me think a lot about the roguelike genre of games, and what does make for a good roguelike game. Let's dive into the adventures of roguelikes, roguelites, and roguelikes together. Just a quick warning before we dive into it, I will refer to all the games from these categories just like roguelikes. I know there are differences, but for my points they aren't really important. Epic Gamer Transition. Alright, so first we have to set some ground rules. For this, we have to head back into the past. As a lot of other genres, this one is also named after a game. I know. What a shocker. This game was called Rogue. Wow. Unexpected. Which came out in the year 1980. I myself didn't even know about this game, but it could have, from previous experiences, turned on the light bulb inside my head. Ah, what a shame. Hearing all the other genres being named after the games and still not putting two and two together. Fun fact, by some counts, the first roguelike game was called Beneath Apple Manor, which was created in 1978, but let's be honest, Beneath Apple Manor-like isn't really catchy, so I can't blame them. I would say there are three really important factors in roguelike games. We can take a look at the Berlin interpretation of roguelike games, which was drafted in 2008 and defines high and low value factors that make up a pure roguelike game. When someone mentions a roguelike in the year 2022, the first games that will come to your mind will probably be The Binding of Isaac, Hades, Enter the Gungeon, and Darkest Dungeon. The main factors for me, then, are these three high-value factors from the Berlin interpretation. Use of procedural generation, permadeath, and complexity. With procedural generation, the game can make you feel something that you cannot really get a hold of inside of a pre-scripted world. That is the main reason you can pick the game up anytime after years and years of playing and still not be sure what is going to happen inside of your newly started run. Will you get lucky with your items, or will you suffer with horrible luck and be forced to fight with your nails? Permadeath makes it easy starting a new run, and that is exciting and interesting at the same time. Some games are structured around quite a small runs that can take a few minutes, and others are hours long. It really depends on the game you are playing, but after dying, yes, you are starting from the beginning and can continue with your adventure. The main reason why these games are so enjoyable is the complexity. This is where The Binding of Isaac really shines, and is just above all these games I mentioned before. It has so many items that each run is guaranteed to be different from the previous one. And I'm not even talking about synergies. The levels get harder the more you play the game, even though after you finish your run you can start from the beginning. But with that being said, you really don't. The progress in this game is implemented so well that with each new run you can unlock new items, new characters, and even new parts of the game. This is why it's so magical to be playing this game for hours and hours on end. The complexity is what makes each of these games so enjoyable. Each creator makes their own twist on this. In Hades, you unlock new parts of the lore, new weapons, and new NPCs you can interact with. These three high value factors from the Berlin interpretation are, in my opinion, what really does make a good roguelike game. If you fail or underwhelm in only one of these factors, you get something like The Cult of the Lamb. Don't take me wrong, the game is absolutely gorgeous. The cult is a really interesting niche, but all I see is wasted potential. I really wanted to love this game. I put like 20 hours in and I just finished everything. There's nothing more to explore. I know this game could have been so much bigger and better, but it failed in every one of the important high value factors. We can take it all apart and I will try to explain what I mean by that. Okay, the game starts off with you being a sacrificial sheep. Your head rolls into the shadows and you wake up in front of the one who waits. You are chosen to be his next vessel. And this is where you wake up and start killing everyone around you. You manage to get to the safety of a free land, and here is where you start your cult, with the animals you have saved on your way there. From this point on, you go on adventures inside of 4 different dungeons, and between all that you take care of your cult. As a premise, it really does sound good. The animations are really cute and the gameplay in dungeon feels snappy and relaxing. Each day your cult becomes stronger and with that you yourself grow in power. The procedural generation in dungeons feels uninspired. It's lackluster and the enemies are the same no matter where you are. It becomes boring really fast. You are cruising by each dungeon with ease. All you need is to get the golden fleece, which is glass cannon, so if you are playing on the highest difficulty it doesn't really matter. Quick update, I was writing the script before the glass cannon nerf. Now the golden fleece is capped at 200% and that makes it no longer a viable option. It's still good but not as good as before, because before you could just run into dungeons and one-shot every single enemy past the first few rooms. Permadeath doesn't really exist here. I'm quite surprised that you can keep a majority of items that you gather while being in a dungeon. That is, if you are even killed. It's really hard to be killed in this game if you haven't understood that much. Fine, who cares? It is used for building up your cult anyways. Doesn't really matter here. But when it comes to complexity, I am so sorry to say this, but this game is just dull. When it comes to this last high value factor, it just doesn't deliver. I can understand not implementing interesting procedural generation or the permadeath, but cutting out complexity feels wrong. When you are playing the game, it is something that keeps bugging you. Why would the upgrades be either one-sided or absolutely useless? Why do all the dungeons feel the same? The tarot cards are just useless in most cases. There are no synergies. There are no real interesting weapons or curses. There is just a lack of things that keep you pinned to the screen. The cult itself becomes soulless fast and you can't leave them alone for a day or they will either die of hunger, the dirtiness, or one of the most loyal followers will start a riot against you. All the NPCs are also really boring, with their side quests just brain dead. Catch me for fish, bring me 4 eyes, give me 4 followers, bring me mushrooms. It feels pointless. There is only one useful fleece and the rest you can just throw inside of a garbage can. The game is just not a good roguelike, but is still advertised as such. It is at most the taking care of the cult simulator, but it even fails at that. It is as if you had a Stardew Valley and you've cut out all the NPCs interaction, cut out all the other stuff you can do in it, leaving just a farm, and on top of that, taking 4/5 of the things you can do inside of the farm. This is how the game feels. You got your hoe and your strawberry seeds. You get no more, no less. It just lacks the complexity. Anyone can finish this game in 16 hours, and I guarantee you they will not be returning. I wouldn't be surprised if they would have forgotten that they even played this game. I can see the potential in this game. It is really huge, but it's just miles away from being finished. There is just way too much missing at this point of time. I will hope that someday it will become something people would like to remember, but until then, it will lay forgotten in the depths of my mind.